That's a good question. It's from a book from Stephen King. I actually almost never read books. I'm more like a movie guy, like watching movies. But I read a book from Stephen King called Eyes of the Dragon already more than 10 years ago, and there was a name in there, the name of a kingdom called Delane. And I liked it so much that I was busy with setting up Delane that I decided to call the project I was working on Delane. And that's actually the start. So there's not really a story that it has a deep meaning or anything, but it's just the name. Yeah, actually, it was not. No, it went a little bit out of hand, out of control, in a good way. No, it was a project, and the record company asked me, "Can you do a couple shows to support your project, your album?" And of course, with the names involved, it was not possible to ask them for the shows because they all have their own schedule, and then it would take ages to do a show to have the schedule of everybody synchronized. So I asked new band members, and that's when actually the band Delane started. And then we did more and more shows, and yeah, I thought, well, let's not keep it as a project for one album, but let's continue. And that's how it actually started as a band. All good questions, I must say. Well, the most writing is done by me, Charlotte, and Guus. Guus is somebody I know already from my Within Temptation period. He played and wrote in a band called Orphanage. And together with Within Temptation, we did a lot of shows and we did a tour. And yeah, I know he was very talented, so I asked him if he could help out with some trouble spots. And that evolved in a full time partnership in terms of writing. So Charlotte, me, and Guus write actually all the music, but we also leave space for other band members to and that's is starting to develop a little bit now, so that's really good. But the core, the backbone of the writing, is done by our team of three, let's say. Um, because it's always nice to experiment, and every album production, every process of making an album, you learn again. And this is, I think, already about the fifth or sixth album I worked on in total, not only with Delane but also with Temptation and stuff. And every time you learn, and that's very fascinating, and I like that very much. And you explore as well. And this time we had a couple things different. We first of all we did test mixes, so we let a couple mixers mix the same song, and then we picked the one which we like most. So that's one thing which was a little bit new, and I was very enthusiastic about the result with Fredman, who did the whole album, and Charlotte and Guus too in the band. So this was something new. And another thing which was new was that we didn't record in a row. So normally you start when you write songs, then you do the recordings, and you start with drums, bass, guitars. And if you do it really old-fashioned, you do everything at once, the whole band. But the other common way is to do it in a row. So first drums, etc. This time we were not finished with the songs yet. So we had a couple songs, but we started recording those couple songs already. And in the meantime, we wrote other songs. So in the end, we did three recording sessions. and that's different. And it has a good and a downside. The downside is it's not very practical because you have to build up your equipment every time again, and it costs more money because it takes more time. But the good side is that you can steer while being in the process. So that was very fascinating. You can, yeah, you can compare recording sessions. So that was also new. So yeah, that was pretty new. And in the end, we also did the mastering with somebody very well known in the business. Um, uh, Normally, you mix, then you make all instruments in balance, and mastering is about to put a flavor in the whole thing. So that's like when you bake a cake, then in the end you put some sugar on it, some topping, and that's mastering. And we did that with Ted Jensen, and he did a lot of big names, from Metallica to Muse to the Eagles to yeah, it's Madonna, etc. And actually, my brother also always let him do the Masters of Within Temptation, and I asked him to show me a song without mastering and the same song with mastering, and also with different people mastering that song, so I could hear the difference. And then I chose him, and I never want to let somebody else master it because I love it. It's fantastic. So this was also different. Well, in general, not. Actually, we always write in a way that we don't want to think of how we have to perform it later on because it limits you. Because then you think, oh, I cannot do that because we don't have, for example, free guitar players or whatever. But I don't want to think like that because I want to think free when writing. There are no boundaries when you're fantasy, and that's the way to write songs, at least from my perspective. But then, indeed, sometimes you stumble upon limitations and you need to ask a guest. And most of the time, those are vocalists. And we had a couple of songs where it was really asking for guest musicians. And yeah, of course, we knew Marco already very well. He's a good friend of the band, and we had some material which yeah, asked for his contribution. So and at one side I thought, like, yeah, if I ask him again, it's not really a surprise, is it? But on the other hand, I thought, like, well, does it really matter if it's really good, and if the song asks for it, then why not? And it's always a pleasure to have him, in an honor to have him on our material, on our album, on our songs. So I asked him, and the same goes for the grunts. So in the end, no, we don't think about guests when writing. It was fantastic. It's always very exciting to see what you worked on for months, sometimes years, to see it come to life on stage, and that's a good feeling. And also, it's a little bit stressful because you are worried, is everything going to be okay, and does it work out? And the ironic is you get the most attention with your first show and with a new album, but most of the time the last show is your best because, of course, then you've played a lot and everything is like, how do you say, second nature. And in the beginning it's not. But this time we prepared so well that I think it's the best first show of a new album we ever did, and the response was really good. The vibe in the band was fantastic. So we enjoyed it very much, and we had a very full venue. At the venue, it's a new venue, a very big capacity of people. So we had around 800 people, 900 people in the venue, which is really really good. So I was very happy, and the whole band was. I think so. The response was great, and yeah, they really enjoyed it. And when you see the people enjoy it, you enjoy it yourself as well very much. And it was also very special to see people from a lot of different countries coming to the first show. That's always a big honor. We had people from Finland, Sweden, Germany, UK, France, Switzerland, God knows where. I think Ukraine. So yeah, that's so special. So it was fantastic. A cover. Oh, that's a good one. Um, well, yeah, that's a really good one actually. Um, it's just most of the time a song which you like very much. First of all, you don't do songs which you don't like. But second of all, it should be a song which you think fits you. Um, it's very important, of course, that you can mold it into your own style, let's say. And not every song can do that as good as another song. So it's very important to think about that. Um, so yeah, most of the time it's about that. If it's touching you and if you think you can, if it fits your style. So that's I think the main factors in choosing a cover. Ooh, that's a difficult one. That's a mean one, actually. um, it differs in time. When you don't play a song a lot, if it's like a long time ago, then sometimes it can win in popularity. But or if it's like new, for example, I think right now from the new album, my favorite song is "Sing to Me." That's a song where also Marco is singing on, and it has very nice orchestra arrangements. I asked somebody to help me with the classical orchestrations in two songs, in "Sing to Me" and in "Your Body Is a Battleground." And I love it. It's a great mix, and Marco comes out really well. It was a surprise to see how. It's always a surprise to see how a song develops in a process. And some songs don't grow but are nice already, and some songs surprise you and grow a lot in a process. And "Sing to Me" was a song which was very difficult to write. But in the end, I love the result. It's really fast. It has power. It has contrast. It has a lot of orchestrations. So I love it. Um, the meaning. Oh, that's a good one. Well, I don't. For example, with lyrics are not really my department. Charlotte writes all the lyrics. I'm really into music, and what I like about "Sing to Me" is that it's fast and it's catchy, and it has a chorus which I already see people singing along. It's like "Sing to Me," and then yeah, you already actually you ask the people to sing along on it, literally. And I like that very much to experience a song together with other people, and that means a lot to me. Oh, yeah. Actually, I love it. I love Argentina because it reminds me of Spain. Actually, um, it has like the same climate. We were in Buenos Aires. It's a mixture of Italian, Spanish people. It's very European. It's very different from Brazil, for example, and they're very friendly. So I love it there. It's as I said, it reminds me of Spain, and yeah, my connection to Spain. Yeah, I would love to come back, and yeah, I think we will come back. Actually, I'm already in touch with the promoter, the guy who books us in Argentina. The only thing is at the moment that we have such a busy schedule that we have to figure out when we can do it. Because I think in the next year we have 100 shows, which is a lot. So that means that's like 3 shows in 1 week in average. So yeah, that's a lot. But we will come back, and I love to come back. Not right now, because actually this year we do a lot of tours with other bands who, coincidence has it, don't do Spain. We're going to the US in September and October. And in January, we had 2015, we have a tour with a very big band, which is still not in the open, so I cannot say which band that is. And they don't do Spain either. But because we do those 2 tours, we cannot do our own headline tour, because then we always do Spain. So I think it will be 2014 before we can come back to Spain, set aside from, of course, Leyendas del Rock in Alicante. And of course, I'm always going to Spain on holiday anyway. So I'm in Spain a couple times a year anyway, but not with the band. Where, of course, we are a lot together, and a lot of times in small spaces like a tour bus. So it's very important you get along well, because otherwise you get big fights and it's over very quickly. But we like the same kind of jokes. We have the same, in general, I think a lot of us look the same way towards life. You know, you're all musicians, and musicians is a specific breed of people, so to say. So it's very different than when you have a very different life, like a 9 to 5 job. It's just different. And of course, I shouldn't generalize. You know, there are always exceptions in all things. But in general, I think we look to life a little bit the same. And yeah, we like the same jokes. We like the same kind of movies, for example. And that's important, I think. It's also not that you have to be the best friends or anything. You know, you also sometimes, when I was young, I had some fights with my brothers. That's normal. But in general, you should really get along together and accept each other's good, but also each other's bad sides. Everybody has them. And that's important. Oh, that's a good one. Again, a good one. All good questions. Let me think. Um, yeah, of course, being totally unrealistic. Freddie Mercury, I love his singing, his character of his voice. I just love it. So that would be fantastic. There are a lot of people. Sting, another one, which of course has nothing to do with metal, but it's a music I grew up with, and he has a really characteristic voice. Um, yeah, Phil Collins, Metallica, even ABBA, of course, brilliant songwriters. Another brilliant songwriter is Tuomas from Nightwish. I love his style as well. So it would be cool, and perhaps that would be realistic to share a stage with, of course. Perhaps we will tour together once. Um, so yeah, to name a few. It was a challenge, and we really didn't cheat it or anything. We had nothing, so it was very stressful. But since Guus and Charlotte, also Guus was there, the core writing team was there, and after writing so many albums together, we have so much faith in ourselves that we know when we are together, we can produce something. The only thing was, can you do it that quick, that fast? And that was a challenge, but I think it worked out pretty well. Also thanks to Sander and to Timo. So it was a very positive experience and also nice to deliver it to a fan at the end of this hour. And yeah, also the radio DJ liked it very much. So it was good. That's let me think. Well, Queen, of course. Um, a lot of also one day flies, let's say, like big hits. We actually considered doing I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight, you know, this hit from the 80s, which was, with all due respect, I think a one day fly, but it was really good. That would be a cover I think I would do. Um, but also perhaps really funny stuff, modern stuff. Can be a lot of things actually. Um, Alba, of course, is also a good one to cover. That's always a success. Everybody knows Alba. And disco is also very nice to do, like some old disco tunes. Well, yeah, I tried singing, but it didn't really cheer me up doing that. I'm not. I'm very good in sing. How do you say in tune? But I don't like the character of my voice. So it would be good background singing, I think, but not main singing. And I play some guitars, but I only do power chords and writing. And when I write the music, when I'm done, then I let a good guitar player do it over. So I do some guitar playing, and but that's about it. The first ever concert. Um, that's I have to think about that. I recall the first concert with Within Temptation. I was like 16. It was in the Netherlands, in Boskoop, near Utrecht. Um, and before that, I think with my school band, um, when I was 13 or 14. And before that, yeah, I'm thinking up loud. I did some classical piano lessons at a music school, and I did some performance there. So if you count that, then I was 10 years old, and I was very nervous, but it was nice. I had no traumas from that. A lot of cities. I love history. I don't remember being to Granada, for example. I would love that. And also Pamplona. I would love to go to Extremadura. That's not a city, of course, but I never been there after. Yeah, of course, when I was 2, 3, or 4 years old, but I don't remember that. So I would like to go to that area. Um, a lot of cities. Toledo. I would love to visit Toledo as well. Yeah, cities I didn't visit recently, and especially old cities. I've been to a lot of Spanish cities. Madrid, I always like to return. It's not the most beautiful old city. There are more beautiful old cities, I think, but I like to go back there. Um, and I would love to go back to Sevilla. That's also a very nice city to go to. Uh, yeah, and always, of course, to the city where my parents have a house in Dania. That's of course a very tourist place. But when I hear that, I think of holidays. So that's always nice. Claro, sí. Yo hablo español un poquito. Really un poquito. Um, yes, first of all, I love to thank them for their support, and it's always a warm welcome. I think Spanish people are very outgoing, and I love that from our fans. It's always a party to play in Spain, They say like the people in Madrid, for example, are local when you come there in a good way. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to come back in August. And yeah, after that, I hope to come back a lot of times as well. And I hope they will like the album.